Now I'd like to talk to you about the particular problem of eighth rest followed by eighth note and then some other syncopations. So go back to the fundamentals every time. You want to make sure that their toe is tapping to represent the pulse, that their mouth is representing the meter. We're chopping up time into increments with the meter, like a meter stick. And then the hands are going to represent the rhythm. Students always think that the hands and the rhythm are the most important thing, but I totally disagree. It's the least important thing. So if they have to drop something, just tell them to count and tap their toe if it's too hard for them. Okay? Almost everyone that I show this system kind of goes, oh yeah, I do that, I do something like that. It's pretty much the same. I just recommend that you watch the videos and see what's different, because this rhythm has been made some people really wildly successful at sight reading. So just check it out and see how it's a little bit different than what you might have been doing in the past. So the eighth note is difficult for some students because, like I said before, it's the first time we're chopping a pulse into two smaller parts, okay? This forces the hands and the feet to come out of sync, a little bit like patting your head and rubbing your stomach. And some kids are like, oh my gosh, I can't do that, it's too much. So I find that if you can get the students to focus on the skill of tapping the toe and stop looking at music, this can help them to figure out the skill in isolation. All right, so you want to have your metronome on at 66 beats per minute, and when you're teaching eighth notes and eighth note syncopations, it really helps if you have the eighth note subdivision on, click, 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 and you want to go back anytime you're introducing a new eighth note concept, like eighth rest, eighth note. You probably want to go back to saying down, up, so you can say down, up, like that, and they can understand how it works with their foot instead of saying one and, because that's a little bit more disconnected from what their foot is doing. So again, when we get this going, you want to tell them that they have a stick attached here and here, so that every time this goes up, so does this. Every time it goes down, they're connected. You can't break them apart. They always have to be going up and down together, because so often beginners, when they get to eighth notes, are going to go and just make their foot go faster because it's comfortable, 1-to-1 ratio instead of 2-to-1 ratio. So every time their foot moves up, their hand moves with it, and every time their toe moves down, their hand moves with it. Have them practice the two together, staring at their foot. Say, tell your foot what to do and make it do the right thing. I believe that talking about rhythms can often get us into trouble, so it's better if you can model. So I'm going to model number 31 like I would for my class. First, I'm going to say down, up. So this is 31. Down, up, 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 down, up. And make sure while you're modeling like that, that they're using their gun, they're touching the notes. If you're in high school, you don't have to use a gun, just have them touch the notes, because they so often just zone out whenever you start doing something or playing or talking. Instantaneous zone out. So if they're physically doing something, you can see if they're engaged, and also it's going to kind of force them to at least be looking where their finger is going. So after you model 31 like that, have them do it back just like that till they get pretty good at it, and then model with 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, and make sure that you're doing your hands up and down like that, and it will help them to bring this difficult concept of syncopation way down to a basic level and make it actually very easy for them. After you've modeled it, and then they've done it back for you, they've got some experience with it, point out that you are resting in a downward motion on the eighth rest, and then you're clapping when your hands and toe come back up, and hopefully that will make sense to them. Make sure you model this and then have them use the gun thing, And then while they're clapping and counting, again, use that board. Like if you've got a projector, it's worth it. And if you don't own one, you might want to look into purchasing one, because having these PDFs shown up to be able to, write on them or point out things is really invaluable. So you point to the notes as they're doing them, so that they start to go, okay, that's what that means, and that's when that happens. Even if they're not able to clap the rhythm yet, their buddy right beside them is clapping the rhythm correctly, and they're at least doing the toe in the mouth. Like I said, maybe they drop the rhythm because they don't get the rhythm. Buddy's doing it over here, they're seeing it, and things start to connect. So if they struggle, bring them back to the idea of the stick connecting the toe to their wrist, and tell them, when their hands and toes go up, it's always on an and, okay? Because some of them, they may have been doing this for a while, but then they don't really understand that and is up. And then when their hands go down and their foot goes down, those are numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. And for some of the kids, when I explain this at this point, they're like, oh, big light bulb goes off. So that's helped for some of my students in the past. Remember, every time you do clapping, metronome on, posture, tap your toe, count out loud, clap the rhythms. Only 2 exercises, 2 times each. Model new exercises while they use the gun or point. Use the line of your standard, and whether they've met it, come below it, or gone above it. Keep the energy level high, and keep the clapping periods short, so that it's both intense and hopefully fun.